Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Monday in the Riv, and we got a blistering Monday today. We got some heavy stuff. But quickly, CJ, I got to talk about the school department
Go
quickly because
ahead.
we'll get to the big thing. I heard today, received a call today that now they've revamped the figures. It's not 53%, it's 74 or 75%. But let's just do it this quickly. We all know what they do. Figures don't lie, but liars can figure. They change the metrics that they measure things for. They've manipulated the number to cover up for a failing system. We all know the school systems throughout the country are failing, and this one is failing miserably. I don't know how they got to 75, and I don't care. But you know, CJ, right? You just told me they've dropped the passing scores to 60.
Right.
This is what they do. They can't pass a competency test, throw the competency test out. They can't attain a 70% to pass a course, drop it to 60. Then maybe they'll go to 50 or 40 or 30. Am I being ridiculous? No, I'm not. Because I'll give you a case in point. When the wokies take hold. At one point a long time ago, they weren't getting enough minority applicants to fire departments throughout the state. And the applicants they were getting weren't passing the test. The test score, minimum test score, was 70. And I can document this because I know people who were on the job for a while it was in court and everything else. They actually dropped the passing score to, you ready for this one? 35. 50% of the former passing score. 35. And then they gave preference to people who got a 35 over people who got 100. Now, if that's not reverse discrimination, I don't know what is. But we're not talking about this now. We're talking about how these politicians and these power brokers who want to cover up with their wokeness and their lack of demand for accountability and performance, how they cover up. They just change everything and they flat out lie. They just flat out lie. This is what they do on a regular basis. Yeah, they're going to turn around and tell you, oh, now it's 75. Well, what changed? And a very, very well-respected former educator, highly qualified, a PhD, just like CJ, PhD, big time.
Child high and deep.
That's right. But you and I both know CJ. He's a friend of ours.
Yes, he is. We don't always agree.
We don't always agree. As I said, we're not saying this because he's a friend of ours. We routinely disagree. As I said on the last show, he is not a conservative. We have a lot of disagreements on but we disagree without being disagreeable. We respect each other. I respect his understanding of the educational system. He was intimately involved in this and trying to get better performance. And what did he say in that thing? In that what he wrote, he said, in order to get better, we have to demand excellence. But we're doing just the opposite. We're demanding mediocrity and failure and making it passing now. And where are we going to get now? What Baltimore did? Where you can pass when you get a high school diploma when you read at the second or third grade level and say, because we're going to give him a diploma because we don't want to hurt his feelings. We're going to send him into the job market as a functional illiterate that can't read and write and expect him to do something else besides becoming a pimp or a criminal, a drug dealer, to make money. Let's send him out into the universe with a high school diploma, reading on a second grade level, being a functional illiterate, and expect him to get a job other than a dishwasher's job, if he's lucky. So with that, CJ, I'm done with this ridiculous bullshit about this thing. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right, Alphonse. Yeah, you answer one question, they might give you a PhD, let alone a college degree. You
Let
might
me
get a
let,
PhD now.
let me tell you something. When I went to nursing school, we had to have a grade point average that was like 80, 85 to pass the course. I don't know if that's still the standard. Maybe it's not. I mean, I remember when I went to elementary school and the passing grade was 65, but you were expected to get an 80 or a 90. And I was in advanced placement in elementary school in fourth grade, and we were expected to get 100 on our exams. No question about it. But we dumbed it down so much. I have to consider, are the doctors and nurses and psychiatrists that were graduating today as qualified as the ones were when I was being graduated, when I went to school? Have they dumbed it down that far? I hope not. I hope not. But again, this is what America's coming to. Okay. And you wonder why places like China and Japan are beating us because they have high standards. And you must meet those standards. They don't play games. Why is Germany producing better than us? Because not everyone goes to college in Germany, and they know that. They turn around and tell you, no, you're not good. You're not made for college. You're made for vocational school. You're made to be a plumber, an electrician, a sheet metal worker. Those are jobs that they get trained for. And we support vocational education. And we think people should not only look at college, but also look at vocational education. Because again, working as a plumber, you can make almost as much as a surgeon. So don't think that being a plumber is a bad thing. I know they call them shit navigators, but I can say that my cousins are plumbers.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what they used to call them at Diamond. But again, this is what we're making. We're dumbing down America, and that's why we're not going to be able to compete in the world market.
And I hope they're not reducing the standards, although they probably are in nursing and medicine and things because obviously you're dealing with people's lives. But now let's segue into the big news of the day. You have something to put up on the screen, I think, CJ.
Yes, this is a 911 call log. Okay, from Friday night. Oh, wrong one. There it is. That's a 911 call log. I had to redact out the social security numbers. This here is a call from Carabella's restaurant from a person who said, and I will quote, okay, the mayor just hit my car and left. That is what was reported on the 911 call. I don't know if that 911 log still reflects the same way as this one does, but this one is the one that I have. Now, allegedly, the mayor hit somebody's car or backed into somebody's car, I guess at Carabella's restaurant, and left the scene. And the person called 911 and said, the mayor hit my car and I want something done about it. So they dispatched a cruiser. I guess the person the vehicle is registered in Taunton. I made a couple of phone calls from the people listed on the 911 call log. Those people are the owners of Carabella's restaurant. Now, if you or I did that, we would be in jail. We'd be charged.
Yeah,
I
well, at
don't know
least
if people remember Aberdeen in Rhode Island. He hit a car in the McDonald's drive-thru and told the people to pull over, and he left. And they charged him. Now, according to what I've been told, and again, these are allegations, the chief of staff had a conversation with the person this weekend, and the chief of staff said, I have been doing damage control all weekend. What damage control? What damage control? I have a problem with this. I have a problem with the Fall River Police or any police department investigating its own elected officials. I think that the Fall River Police, had they been transparent and they thought about the people and the way it looked, because again, there's a lot of questions going on. Maybe they should have said, we'll turn this over to the state police and let them follow it up. Now, according to reports, I spoke with another reporter from another news agency who said that they have called the Florida Police Department and they were told that the mayor was unaware that he caused damage to a vehicle and he came back to swap information. Now, if you're unaware that you have caused damage to a vehicle, why would you go back to swap information? Oh, wait a minute. Somebody called him and told him. Was it the police department? If you or I were in that type of situation, they probably wouldn't tell us to come back and swap information. That's for sure.
Well, I have to agree because if you don't know you hit something, you don't come back.
That's right.
So I hope someone checks the logs and to see if there was a telephone call made to the mayor. Because if he knew he hit it and he left, he did leave the scene. And if he didn't know he hit something, why would he come back?
Right.
Unless he received a heads up. And look, everybody has the right to due process. We're not convicting him, but this, as you said, there should have been a neutral. This has to be investigated because these people do get special consideration. The rich and powerful do get special consideration. And now I'm going to go to show you how horrifying this is. And ironically, I just got this in this morning, probably because of what just happened. This is something that was posted by some guy named Alden Kearney, and it was about the Karen Reed case. We all know about that. It's been on court TV for a while. It's a pretty horrifying case up there. It looks like there was a lot of manipulation of evidence and everything else by people because of the people involved. But I'm gonna go over this quickly. I can't run the audio because there's a lot of F-bombs. Every other one they had an overdub going, you're effed, you're effed, you're effed, because of what they did. So first of all, this is a picture of the way the Canton police stored the evidence. In shopping bags. And in cups. Dixie cups, or whatever the hell they call those things. So this is what it said. It says, the whole world is watching how the Canton police stored evidence in a murder trial in stop and shop bags. This is why they're being audited. Now here's the next one. There's another picture of a tail light, which is barely cracked, and it said, just so I have this straight, this is the only damage to this car, the outside part of the taillight, no other damage anywhere. And people are actually suggesting that the extensiveness of his injuries, which were, by the way, quite extensive, were caused by this impact with one portion of a taillight collision. WTF, and we all know what that means. Trying to get to the next screen here. Come on. Come on. Yeah, okay, got it. The Commonwealth is trying to debunk the idea that John was bit by a dog, so they sent the swab, quote, from his shirt, unquote, to find, but didn't find the 35 pieces of a red taillight that have since been entered into evidence. Michael Proctor found 4 pieces, and the thing just went the other way. The state police found O'Keefe's missing sneaker after 18 inches had fallen. The Canton police couldn't find it with 2 inches of.
You're muted, Chip. Chip, you're muted.
Here we go again. All right. Well, I just said the Canton police supposedly didn't find evidence in 2 inches of snow. State police went back and found sneakers, all kinds of evidence in 18 inches of snow. Also, the DNA that they said he was bit by a dog, there was no DNA of a dog. And then it said one of the Canton officers testified that there was no red taillight or missing shoe at the scene at 6:10 when he searched the scene. Yet, Michael Proctor found 35 pieces of a red taillight and John's missing shoe 12 hours later after an additional foot of snow had fallen. This is bizarre. You look at this stuff, it's crazy. And so obviously they are being audited. This case, I think, is going to result in some serious legal actions against these people, and a lot of lawsuits, I'll tell you. But again, we see this happen all the time. We see what Joe Biden does with the DOJ, and they cover up things. They won't release information. Isn't it ironic that the people who say they're the most transparent are the least transparent? And, everybody has a right to a full investigation, but there should be a full investigation, and it shouldn't be preferential treatment. And you're right, CJ. It should have been turned over to a different authority. And I can tell you right now, we all remember the unfortunate incident when Paul's wife was in an accident in Fairhaven. But we also did a show that showed that everything Paul said about that accident was absolutely not accurate. We even read the police report. And okay, I'll even give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't know the full particulars. He was getting information from the scene probably. And a lot of times that thing is not totally accurate. You see it on the news media all the time. They give you the wrong numbers of fatalities because they're trying to get it out too quickly. But ultimately, the facts became available. Eyewitness facts. And did Paul ever say, well, I was wrong about that? No. He didn't.
He followed the Terry Sullivan rule.
Yeah, and he also was using that because there was an election.
Election year, right.
So that shows the kind of individual we're dealing with, at least in my opinion, and it's my opinion, and I have a right to it. But I'll tell you what, I don't know. If I don't hit something, I don't go back. You're right, CJ. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes, Monk, to know that people who don't think they did anything wrong don't go back to the scene of an accident. Why would you? Because if you knew you hit it in the first place, you should have stopped. Or maybe my logic is flawed. But with that, CJ, I'll turn that back to you because nothing makes sense about this. The only thing that does make sense is exactly what you said, that this should have been turned over to a nut because, let's face it, the chief was appointed by him.
That's right.
That's a conflict. If I was the chief, I would have dumped this out so quickly because that's the first thing I learned on a fire scene. If I could get rid of the responsibility because, in something that I wasn't really an expert in, like, when we had a problem with the electrical stuff, I'd call the electric light company immediately. Yeah, get them down here, let them cut the power, let them deal with it. Gas company, get the gas company down here. Because, I dealt with the fire aspect, but I'll tell you what, I'm not going to be put in a box. And, the Fall River PD should not be put in that situation when they're dealing with a man who's their boss.
Right. And that's why I said my personal opinion is it should have been turned over to, say, the state police to have them investigate it. But we've also said that about replacing a police chief, that they should put a pro tem police chief in that comes from the state police so that they can look at the department independently and make recommendations for changes. But God forbid we do that. Now, remember, people, these are all allegations. Okay? The report is not an allegation. I'm going to post the entire report on our Facebook pages after this show. You will have them. You'll be able to review them, review what was said. And if another report comes out which is different from this one, then we know there's some shenanigans going on. And we will know that.
Well, you got to use some logic, CJ. That you're right. Everything is there are some certain allegations, but there are some facts. Well, it's technically not. We have to corroborate it, but there are some obvious facts. If the Fall River PD said that the mayor went back to the scene and exchanged information, it is a fact that there was an accident.
Correct.
So that's not an allegation, and the mayor was involved. Now, that's making the assumption that what we heard was accurate, and we're not going to say we are 100% sure of that. But the information we have now does confirm that there was an accident, and the mayor was involved in that accident. Now, the rest of the thing, how he got back to the scene, if he left the scene, as you said, those things are all allegations, and let's hope that there is a thorough and fair investigation, and everybody gets their day in court, and all the facts come out. Because listen, we've seen this all over the country. How many times have we seen cover-ups for rich and powerful people? I remember a while back we had the state police involved in a cover-up, and again we got state police, local police involved in cover-ups, and then we've even had judges involved in cover-ups. And the only thing that this clearly states is something we all know: if you're rich, if you're connected, you live by a different standard of rules. If it was you, or CJ, or I, nobody'd be calling us and say, you better get your ass back to that scene, because you just left the scene of an accident. So, I mean, this is the reality of it, so let's see what happens.
It's frustrating. I'm going to read word for word from the 911 log exactly what happened. And the 911 log is dated 5/17/2024, which is a Friday. It was listed as a priority 2 hit and run with suspect. And the complainant said the mayor of Fall River hit her car and took off. Witness is an employee, and that's of Caravella Restaurant. Okay? Nowhere in this 911 log does it say that the mayor was called, the mayor returned. Nowhere. And while I understand it may take a lot of work to file charges against an individual who's been involved in a hit and run, okay? If it wasn't the mayor, would somebody have been charged? Even though they came back? And why would they come back? Unless they received a phone call from the police department. So again, we're wondering why we're getting special treatment.
You're right, CJ. And listen, we're seeing it right now. There's another national case that shows this about how rich and powerful people are treated differently. Uh, what was his name before? That P. Diddy? I was never a big rap fan anyway,
Sean
but
Diddy Combs.
yes, yeah. Well, there were all kinds of allegations about his abuse and trafficking and everything else about people. They settled a lawsuit on it, but now it took them, what is 2024, a video from 2016. Now, when this happened and there were charges, assault charges filed against P. Diddy or Combs or whatever it was, they suppressed this. They had a video of him coming out of his room wrapped in a towel when his girlfriend was trying to escape from him, grabbing her by the neck and throwing her on the ground, kicking her, dragging her by her hoodie back to the room, and it was reprehensible. A terrible physical abuse. And guess what? They, probably he paid her off, and he did. They settled. But he never had to face criminal charges for that abuse because they suppressed that long enough. The statute of limitations has run out.
Right.
As bad as that thing is now, they can't prosecute that bum for hitting a woman. And only cowards hit women. But why? Because P. Diddy knows a lot of rich and powerful people, and he was rich and powerful. And now they're saying there's a lot more where that came from. We're going to see a lot more stuff. This is like, what's his name there? The other idiot that hung himself there, or supposedly hung himself. The other guy that they suppressed all kinds of evidence for. Clinton was on the plane, everybody was on the plane. But we see this every day. When it happens to these people, if you did that, they'd lock you up, throw the key away, and stick you in with a cellmate that would murder you for doing what you did. You know what I mean? This is the thing. This is the tragedy of this thing. If anybody, all you wokies out there who can tell me there's no double standard, you're delusionary. Because there is a double standard. We see it every day. We're seeing it with P. Diddy. We're seeing it with this Reed case. And maybe we're seeing it now. And that's the thing. If you don't think this is a fact, you're crazy. I'm sorry. There is. Is it fair? No. I believe in justice for everybody. You do the crime, you do the time. And I don't care who you are. But that's not the way it is. And look at that guy that hit Pelosi in the head with a hammer. He got 30 years. If that guy hit you in the head with a hammer, CJ, in a subway, they let him out without bail.
Right.
They might even give him a bonus for hitting one of us with a hammer.
Any politician would give a bonus.
That's right. So, 30 years. And he really didn't injure him that seriously, but he did hit him with a hammer. I guess that's attempted murder. But they finally, and then the prosecutor's making this thing. Oh, blah blah. You can't assault a relative of a federal official, and well, yeah, because they get treated differently. They can lie, cheat, steal, hit cars, drive away. But hey, let's see it. So now we have another mystery to solve, and hopefully people with far more resources than we have will get to the bottom of this.
Well, as I said at the beginning of the show, we're looking at this, and look at Avedisian, who was the former mayor of Warwick, Rhode Island, former RIPTA chairman, okay, the Rhode Island Public Transit Authority, and he left the scene. The police charged him with hit and run. They charged him. He went back, he went to court, pled out, got released, I guess it was on personal recognizance. Shortly thereafter, he went back to court, pled nolo, which means he's not contesting it. He was given probation. And providing he stays clean for a year, I think it is, they'll expunge his record. And they would offer that to just about anyone. They really would. They just offer that to just about anyone, especially somebody with no criminal record at all. So it's not like it's a big secret. But again, this is Fall River. And I have a problem with the fact that the Fall River Police Department wanted to investigate this with them being investigating their boss. That's a direct conflict of interest. A direct conflict. Okay?
And CJ, the irony of this is, obviously, I'm sure it wasn't a really super serious accident.
No, it wasn't, I'm sure.
And the thing is, this shows, but they make this a big deal by the way they try to cover even the littlest thing up without transparency. Because something, I would give the benefit of the doubt to most police officers are reasonable people.
Right.
If somebody clipped a car on the way out, didn't know it, and then even if they found out who you were, I mean, she knew who it was, but if she got the license plate number at the house, and you hit a car and you said no, and there's virtually no damage, it's not, you're not gonna go to prison for 20 years on that. Most people would say, well, you didn't even know you hit, you didn't even know you clipped it, you didn't hear anything. They would be kind of reasonable, but the cover up is worse than a crime. And the thing is, like I said, he never ever, when they got the facts of the case of the accident involving in Fairhaven, he never came out and was man enough to say, listen, the characterization I said was not accurate, because, but in this one, why didn't he just, they made a phone call, go back, and then say, listen, I didn't even know I hit the thing.
Right.
I went back, I exchanged information. I take responsibility.
Exactly.
That's it. Yeah, but he can't do that. Everything's got to be covered up. Perfect Paul has to remain perfect Paul.
But remember, I always follow the law.
Yeah. But I mean, that's all he had to do was say, listen, now there's going to be an investigation. Let him call a conference and say, look, the police called me. I went back. I exchanged but did he? We don't know. Or did they make a call and exchange it? We don't know the fact. So now they created a mountain out of a molehill.
Exactly.
If he would have just been man enough to say, okay, now just got out in front of it. As they say a lot of these lawyers tell their clients, let's just get out in front of this thing. But no, everything has to be done in the back door, just like getting the third member on a retirement board. We have to bend the law and ignore their fiduciary responsibility. This is the way he does things. And this is the why so many people who used to like him don't like him anymore.
Well, what's interesting is, and I found this literally just before we came on the air, there is a change position that has been posted demanding full transparency of our elected officials here in Fall River. It's quite an interesting change petition, and it's asking for people to sign it. I don't know how many signatures they got already. I just briefly read the petition, but I'll tell you now, people are getting fed up. People are getting fed up, and it's not going to go away. And this is going to be something that's not going to go away. And I'm going to tell you now, and Paul, if you're watching, and I'm sure you or one of your minions are watching, I have shared this report, this 911 log report, with several news media outlets. So they're all investigating. So it might be time for you to come out ahead of this now, before it gets really messy. I do not blame any police officer. They were doing their job. They were doing as they were ordered. They were following the scripts. They were following the book. They did what they were supposed to do. They spoke with the complainant. They took the 911 call. They dispatched the cruiser. They took the information. I even got the accident report number. So it's all there. It's all there. It's just a matter of putting it together. And again, these are allegations. Maybe the mayor did come back. Maybe somebody called him and said, look, Paul, you hit somebody. You got to come back. You got to come back and give them your information. You got to come back.
Yeah, but
Talk
who
to the
would
police
have that
department.
information except the police department?
Right.
That's the problem. The problem is the police. And like I said, listen, I'll give them the benefit. I think most reasonable police officers, if it was like a barely a touch, if they went and something, they got the number of the car, they'd go to your house and they probably wouldn't lock. They're not going to handcuff you like they did with Scotty Scheffler, the number one golfer in the thing, when he didn't respond to the signal. He misinterpreted the signal. They locked him up. But I mean, I'm sure they would say, "Look, you hit this car. Are you aware you hit it?" And they'd say, "No, I didn't know I hit it." I don't think they're going. It's not a federal case, you know. And if they look at your car and there's minimal damage, for I would say 99.9% of the time they'd say, "Well, there's the person. You better get a hold of this person and exchange information and
Yeah.
deal with it." I mean, it's
Exactly.
not. You know, that's not the big deal. The big deal is the cover up and the
That's
lack
right.
of transparency.
That's
That's
right.
the big deal. I mean, it's
And that's
crazy.
what we're caught up in.
Yeah.
That's what we're caught up in.
So
Hey,
now you
I've
made,
been,
like you made an issue where there wasn't one.
right, I've been in a small fender bender, okay? And the police were called, and the officer turned around and said, "Here's their information. Here's his information. You're all set." No police report, no nothing, because it was so minor they didn't even want to be bothered. It wasn't worth the paperwork. The only time they really get involved when it's a real minor thing and they file the report and go through the whole process is when somebody's screaming, ranting, and raving, or if there's an injury. Okay? They use common sense. And our former police officers are very good at using common sense. I don't blame them. I think they did their job. Even if that meant calling the mayor and saying, look, get back here, that's their job. But again, when it looks like a cover up, when it stinks like a cover up, it's a cover up. And we went through this once before with Paul when we had to read word for word the police accident report involving his wife. And that report was totally contradictory to what the mayor had said. Total contradictory. And he never said anything about it then either. But remember, I follow the law. I follow the law. Can't make it up. So I will have this 911 log report posted on our Facebook pages. Please feel free to share it with your people. If you want to call the mayor, ask him why, feel free. I mean, it's time. And if it's true that the chief of staff said, I'm doing damage control, why are you doing damage control? Is that your job? Is that in your job description? I don't think so. I don't think so. But hey, you never know. I don't know what the job description says now because that's a personal employee, confidential employee.
Yeah.
Confidential
Confidential
employee.
employee.
Yep. So, but it was very interesting. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and definitely hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday.
And if you hit somebody, stay at the scene.
Please. See you on Wednesday.